Hello to everyone. I hope you're having a fantastic day and welcome to our new YouTube channel. We completed one episode and the main focus was on, of course, how we're going to manage our emotion and the differences between IQ and EQ. And of course, we focus on obstacle to becoming emotionally intelligent in our everyday life. And we focus on shadow personality, which is part of our personality. Everybody has a shadow side. And yes, we have the whole personality. We call it, this is me, this is who I am, which we of course focus on positive things that we have in our personality, kindness, proactive, dynamic, of course, helping other people, go-getter kind of a personality that we all, advocate that to have and we want to have, cheerful, positive personality. But then on the other side, we have the shadow side which comes from the wounded, emotion that we all carry. Yes, we all came from the childhood that, we cannot say any childhood was perfect. More or less, we all have some level of, emotional wounds that we carry throughout our life, and it's a story of our unconscious mind. And this unconscious mind start forming and collecting data, which is, if I call our brain a computer, a very sophisticated computer, this computer start collecting the information from the moment that we enter to this planet. And yes, there's a lot of wonderful things that mom and dad and other people, they teach us to make us to become a functioning human being living on this planet. Ideas and beliefs and way of thinking, and we're doing different things. And yes, along the way, since that we are living on the planet that is diverse, it's dynamic, there's so many things are happening. And yes, mom and dad, wonderful people, we are mom and dad, most of us, that haven't been really formally educated how to raise a child. And that's the reason that along the way, difficulties that they have, they come along and affecting us. And that's the way that more or less we're going to have a wounded emotion. And those wounded emotions are going to be a story in our unconscious mind along the way of many other wonderful things that we learn. And those wounded emotions become a side in us that it can be hidden. We know it. If you're shy, if we have temper, anger problem, or if we use silent treatment as a way of dealing with the difficulties or dealing issues in relationships, and if you are having that tendency to disconnect and disappear when we have issue with somebody in our life, these can be the mild shadow personality. We don't want to admit it, and sometimes are in hiding. And if other people bring it up that say, hey, you got temper, or you have this sense of disconnection, or you're shy, most of the time we're in denial. We are not going to accept it that yes, I have that side. Even we get a little bit defensive. But we explain that in order to have comfortable feeling about who we are, we need to advocate and advance our positive dynamic side of our personality. But yes, we need to accept the shadow side and become aligned with it. When we become aligned with our shadow side of a personality and definitely accept it and admit that we have that side and come out of a denial, then it makes it much, much easier to become unified with it from the within. And that unification from the within, without the denial about the shadow side, it makes us much more emotionally intelligent, and we're going to reach a higher level of emotional intelligence and wisdom. So that's going to be one of the obstacles that we mentioned, that we need to rework on it, remove it, so then we can be much more emotionally intelligent. And our emotion is going to become easier to express. We can have much, much easier time to express our emotion when we are informed of our shadow personality. So that's the one obstacle that we are going to explore further and further as we continue. Today, the topic that we want to really focus and emphasize on that topic is obstacle to true happiness. And this is again the continuation of the discussion that we are going to have and we've been having in the past, simple answer to the complex question. And one of the major questions that we all have in back of our mind, how I can be happy? And of course, when we're talking about happiness, it means that how I can feel good. Feeling good is the goal of life. It's a purpose of life that we are living on every moment. We want to feel good. We want to find a way from the thinking and perception and beliefs and ideas, and of course generating wonderful feelings so that we can feel good about who we are. Of course, those of us that all of us, I would say that we should have a purposeful life, and one of the purpose of our life should be making other people also feel good. So, if this is a purpose of life that we are managing our emotion every moment to feel good and to generate wonderful feeling, and of course ultimately being happy, so what are the obstacles to this happiness? We're going to outline some of the basic obstacles. We talk about shadow personality, that's one of the obstacles, and we're going to go to more details of other types of obstacle. One of those obstacles, of course, is depression. We all have mood swing, but every single one of us, we are going to have a fluctuation in our mood throughout the day. And it's nothing unusual, nothing that we can say unnatural. We are living in a sense as a complex entity that we are, with hormones, lots of emotions, and of course, very complicated and sophisticated neurological system. And definitely we have outside influences of all kinds from other people and from the ideas and beliefs that is continuously coming inside of our brain. As they, research indicated, on a normal base, we have about 60 to 70,000 thoughts going to our brain. That's a lot of thoughts. And of course, statistically speaking, a lot of those thoughts and thinkings are negative because of our insecurity. We constantly trying to detect things that might be threatening to us, and so we become more insecure, and we're trying to continuously use our IQ and EQ to overcome those insecurity and hopefully change the direction of negative thinking to the positive thinking. So if you have a little bit of fluctuation in your mood, no problem. But again, if the mood swing going upper and upper to the higher level, and it becomes disturbing, and we become irritable, highly moody, frustrated, angry, disconnected, and then it's the time that there are going to be much more clinical depression, and there are going to be more, of course, there are going to be more symptoms of those, as we call it, clinical depression. And some people, they have that clinical depression. They need to admit it. It's not an embarrassment. It's nothing to be ashamed of. And wherever it came from and whatever happened that we became depressed, that's not maybe the focus. Although we can explore the roots of our depression, but on the other side of the matter is that how we're going to learn to redirect our thinking. And yes, we can adjust our diet, our eating habit, exercise, meditation, yoga, so many techniques that we can, or change of lifestyle we can use in our daily life, so we can absolutely influence our depression and lower it, and hopefully bring it to a normal level. Of course, sometimes we might need a medication, which is perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong if we get to the point and a professional, a physician diagnose that we need to be on some kind of antidepressant. That's perfectly fine. Don't hesitate that. Don't be embarrassed about that. So that's one of the obstacles we need to remove in order to be more positive, more dynamic, and definitely be able to have higher level of. Another obstacle that we should focus on is, of course, anxiety, which right next to the depression. Anxiety is a very, of course, again, normal feeling that we all have. There is no way we can live our moment by moment of our life without anxiety. Partially, a little bit of anxiety is positive because it's going to help us to be more eager and more focused and more motivated to complete the task and go on with the things that we should do in everyday life. When the anxiety gets higher and higher, that's the time they become distracted and disturbing, and we are not going to be able to focus anymore. And again, that's another obstacle to our happiness, because we're going to be much more worrying about how I'm going to manage my anxiety than focusing on the things that we should do, or even building a relationship. If you're in a relationship with someone, then you have high level of anxiety. So of course, you're not going to be pleasant. You're not going to be someone that you want to be. And the anxiety, one of the downside of it is that it creates, irritation and frustration, which might lead to anger and frustration, which again, we're not going to feel good. And of course, with a high level of anxiety, we're not going to be able to make anybody feel good. So let's kind of, look into that also obstacle to becoming emotionally intelligent and also ultimately to be happy. As we continue, of course, we have, some of us, we might have a little bit of OCD. And OCD, of course, that's another downside to happiness. We need to make sure that we're not going to be obsessed with things, or even have level of obsession in our thinking. When you have obsession about cleaning, and you want to clean all the time, and you are never be satisfied that when is the time that I kind of stop. And so, of course, your mind is racing, your thought is racing, and that become definitely a higher level of obstacle to your happiness and joy. Sometimes people stay up late and just simply want to clean, or they stay up late and not going to be able to go to sleep because the thought is racing, the mind is racing. And this racing thought is because they're thinking about something that they're very much, obsessed about that thinking, and they cannot leave it. They cannot, be in peace with that thinking. And that's the reason that we need to also look into that, and how we're going to overcome our OCD and racing thoughts, and being pretty obsessed with something that we might do or we might think about it. Another, of course, obstacle that we can look at as we go higher and higher, those obstacles become much more severe. Paranoia. We live in a society, an era that security becoming a major issue for all of us. We have so many devices, and we discovered and invented so many devices, technologically advanced devices. It's going to help us to become more secure, from inside a home, in our car, in our office, or place of employment. Yes, all of those are wonderful, and we're going to continue using those devices to make us feel more secure. But again, when we become more concerned about security and we don't trust almost anybody, that becomes a major obstacle to our happiness. Now we're looking around and wondering who is there and who's not there. If somebody's following me, or somebody did that to me, or somebody doing something to me, or basically everybody has a bad intention. Everybody is trying to kind of, do something harmful to me. That becomes almost definitely a high level of paranoia. And of course, trust issue, which goes to a higher level of, paranoia, is based on, we call it trust issue, or I don't trust people, but it really is based on the law of the probability. We're going to talk about universal principles and quantum physics principles, but when we're talking about trust issue, trust is a concept that we all carry, that concept when it comes to dealing with other people, in relationship, in business and other setting, but absolutely it's based on the law of the probability. So if we lower the probability of risk that we are taking in any encounter, and with the research and the studying and understanding, then of course the probability is going to come down, and we're going to become lower to get hurt. So we want to really use that law of the probability instead of that notion of I don't trust people and I have issues with people. Sometimes really because of our pleasing personality or lack of deep research and study about something or somebody or some issues or situation that we are encountering, we go into that situation, we enter into that situation, and definitely we didn't really see all the negative things, all the red flags. And then we start, building that paranoia. See, I told you, I cannot trust anybody. But well, you didn't do your research. And yes, I can say that we cannot just with one incident and one situation, one encounter with other people that might come out to be negative, we lose trust in people. So it's against law of the probability. it should be enough evidence that we need to avoid interacting with that person or in that situation. We cannot just jump to conclusion with one incident and one situation. So again, trust issue, it can lead into paranoia. And in order to resolve it, we need to use law of the probability. And when we do that, we're going to lower that. And so again, we're going to be happier, of course, and we're going to have higher level of emotional intelligence. As we continue looking at obstacle, yes, we're going to really look into that narcissistic personality. We all want to be confident and feel good about who we are. That's perfectly fine. We should work on our self-confidence and self-esteem every moment. When self-esteem and self-confidence come to you naturally, based on your abilities, skills, talents, knowledge, information, and things that you have to offer. And it comes naturally and you feel good about that. We don't have to exaggerate it. When you go to that selfishness, which is going to lead you to narcissistic personality, you want to use all the tools, every way that you can prove that I'm better than everybody else. When you go to that notion of feeling or wanting to be better than everybody else, then you're going to really go to any extent violating moral and ethical boundaries, even legal boundaries. Sometimes people do that just because they have this blindfolded feeling that they are better than other people, and they can exaggerate, they can lie about different things, and they're not comfortable, those people. It seems like it, they are confident, but they are in control and they are in charge. Obviously they are not in control and in charge. That's the reason that they're going to suffer from a high level of anxiety and tension, contradiction, and ultimately loneliness. So that's another obstacle. We need to really be self-informed of that obstacle and remove it and be concerned and cautious about that. We can continue and look at another maybe obstacle, a controlling personality, power-based personality. Those people, they think that if they use power, if they manipulate people through all different means and techniques and skills that they might have, twisting the truth, then they're going to be more powerful, they're going to gain control in relationship or in business setting, and obviously it creates more anxiety, more negative thinking, and more mistrust. And other people who are going to be target of their control and manipulation and a power-based notion, they are not going to be happy, and ultimately they're going to discover that this person is controlling. It's not natural and normal in a relationship that he or she has with me, and they're going to question their intention. So we want to be pretty much win-win, advocate a win-win situation when we are dealing with people, so both sides are going to be happy and cheerful about the interaction that they are having with each other. So that's going to be another obstacle. We need to remove that. So we can continue and looking at many other obstacles, and I know that most of you already hopefully discovered those obstacles that preventing you from being happy and emotionally intelligent. Well, we're going to continue, and we're going to add one more, which is a major one, and then we're going to go to the solution. The one that I considered as a major obstacle to being emotionally intelligent and ultimately being happier in the life that we're living is narrow-mindedness, closed-mindedness. When we look at the life from the small lens and we don't expand it and broaden our perspective to include other dimensions, then we are being considered narrow-minded. Narrow-mindedness can come from radicalism of any kind. When somebody exercising his or her own religion and they become radical in their own expression of religion, ideals and beliefs that they have, and they're going to, of course, believe that my religion is the only religion, is the best religion, I'm going to go to heaven, everybody else might go to hell. And they're willing to become violent, emotionally Of course, in argument, being argumentative, and maybe take action even against other people because they're not having the same type of belief that they have. And of course, everybody that carrying that type of narrow-mindedness, they're gonna create their own evidence. They use holy books. They use, of course, the notion of God, and they have many ways of justification in their own mind that my ideas and my beliefs are the better than any other ideas and beliefs. And so that's the one notion that we need to avoid it. Political views can be the source of narrow-mindedness. Ideologically and politically, when we believe that my political view, my ideology are the only one that take people to salvation or take the society to salvation, that's going to be another way of narrow-mindedness, because it's kind of in contradiction with who we are as a human being. We are a very complex entity, and human society is very complex and broad and diverse. So when we come to that notion and definitely try falsely to prove that my political view, my ideology is the best, then definitely we're going to face a lot of obstacles and a lot of frustrated people, and it comes down to separation. And we will become smaller and smaller and smaller and narrow and narrow and narrow in our vision and in our thinking. And definitely people who are maybe surrounding us and supporting us, ultimately they're not going to last long, because that's in contradiction with the notion of life on this planet, which is about enlightenment, about expansion of thinking, about diversity, about unity and oneness. So that's going to be one of those obstacles that we need to be informed of it minute by minute in every setting, even in the family setting. When we become, again, controlling, which is going to lead us to be narrow-minded and close-minded, and we think that we know it all in relationship, and build negative feeling and negative thinking towards our partner, wife, and spouse, and other people that we love them, then ultimately it's going to disturb the relationship, which is relationship is about unity and oneness and integration. That's the reason we say, I love you, you love me. But then when we have that subconscious way of controlling and narrow-mindedness, definitely we're going to alienate the other person which we love, and the alienation lead to the separation, emotional separation, and could lead to the physical separation. So that's going to be one of those obstacles that I want you to keep on your mind, and minute by minute, monitor that maybe that definitely that obstacle. So we're going to pause, and of course, as we continuing the journey that we're taking, we're going to explain about all those obstacles more and more and more. But now, for the sake of time, I want to move quickly to solutions. Solution, as we really have discussed it in the past, but again, I'm going to really summarize it today. There are many solutions. Psychology, they have the solution. Religion, they offer the solution. Of course, philosophers also offer the solution. Spiritual leaders offer the solutions. And all of them can be considered, partially good. But one thing that is very broader than maybe any of that, I call it quantum physics thinking. We are lucky that we live in an era that we have access to highest level of course, discoveries and invention and science of the physics, along the way of many other science, all of them together, they guide us and lead us to understanding of the true nature of the universe, which is about unity, oneness, integration, entanglement, which is those are the one of those basic principles of quantum physics. When you use those principles in your daily life and apply quantum physics thinking and principles in your daily life becomes much, much easier. You don't have to say, that's my view, that's your view, that's somebody else's view. These are the universal principles that let the universal principles which have been tested, and it is a part of the fabric of the society and planet and universe. Let them guide you. When we're talking about law of the relativity, everything is relative. There's nothing absolute. I don't have to fight for something that I might think is absolute. There's nothing that we can call it absolute. So when we again brought up the notion of the principle and the notion of law of the probability. Everything is probable. It's all about probability. When you use that principle in your daily life, then life becomes much, much easier. So as we continue, we're going to look at all those principles. And yes, I'm going to mention that we live in an era and time that I think we might say that for the first time, human society and human beings are facing a universal and global, on planet Earth, of course, this pandemic, coronavirus. And yes, we are looking for certainty. One thing that we are puzzled about that, because we're losing our certainty, we're losing our security. We're living in a very uncertain era and time. Because we need to be certain, and we need to have the level of certainty in order to feel comfortable and peaceful. But one of the major principles of quantum physics teach us that universe is based on, one of the principles is uncertainty. It's uncertain. But we are seeking certainty, and nothing wrong with that, because in order to have a peaceful, calm, and collective life that we need to have on a daily basis, we need to be able to anticipate and predict. Power of anticipation and prediction is the way that we can be calm and relaxed and comfortable and go on with our routine. When that routine and power of predictability disturb, so we're going to be very much disturbed as well. So, but again, if you become aligned with the uncertainty, which is one of the major principles of governing this universe, it's no time and space. It's everything is moving, and everything is entangled. Entanglement, integration, and movements are the major guidance that we need to use in our daily life. So we need to be creative and find a way to create certainty to any level that we're able to do. So we need to be rational, we need to be emotionally intelligent, we cannot be paranoid, remember that. We cannot exercise our OCD, which we might have to do sometimes because we are afraid. So that's going to be one of those principles that it can be useful even in the time that we live in. Definitely that we are pretty uncertain because of this pandemic. So of course, as we continue looking into all those principles of quantum physics thinking, then what is going to happen? Of course, is going to lead us to a broader perspective, which we call a freedom of thinking. When we are moving to the area of freedom of thinking, then infinite possibilities become our guidance. Everything is infinite, and there are infinite possibilities. If the one door that you knock doesn't open, you should be certain and believe in infinite possibility that there are many other doors that you can knock and the doors are going to be open. But you have to have that faith. You have to believe in that. When we don't believe in the universal principles and quantum physics thinking, then we are not going to have access to freedom of thinking. So we're going to really make sure that we use the foundation, which are universal principles based on quantum physics thinking, and we're going to move to the area of, naturally it's going to move us to the area of freedom of thinking. And yes, there is another attachment that is going to be so wonderful, which is a spiritual thinking. A spiritual thinking, which we all know about that, is another dimension that it gives us access to, of course, notion of universe, yes, broader notion of God as a source of energy, as an infinite entity that in religion and many other people who believe in that entity, which is again from the quantum physics thinking, it's called field of energy, which is all the same. We respect both sides of the equation. There is no contradiction between the notion of God and a field of energy. So when we integrate again the notion of field of energy and the notion of God, then we know that we are part of God. We have a piece of God in us. We are part of field of energy. There is no separation. There is a constant, infinite connections between us and field of energy, between us and God. With that connection that we make, of course, we see that spiritual thinking become a very, very, very important part of our life. I am connected. We all are connected, constantly, second by second. There is no separation unless, because of those obstacles, because of our ego and narrow-mindedness and closed-mindedness, we create separation because we think we create insecurity and safety for ourselves, which is not really true. It's a contradictory statement and notion and understanding. So spiritual thinking guides us to be peaceful, to be kind, to be compassionate, to help other people, and also lead us through the meditation and yoga so that we can reach out to the deepest part of our soul and mind and find the answer for peacefulness and calmness. And then that's going to be another dimension that we need to bring into our life again, day by day. I believe that every morning or every day, 3 or 4 times, morning for sure, we should meditate. Meditation gives us that sense of solitude and oneness. And take your time, and doesn't have to be too long, 10 to 20 minutes, 10 minutes to 20 minutes sometimes a day, or definitely morning time. It's going to bring us together. It's going to bring the wholeness and oneness within our own self. And that's going to be much, much easier to be a spiritual connect to the spiritual sources. And of course, the kindness and compassion and connectivity become part of our daily life. So, we're going to implement and understand quantum physics thinking. Quantum physics thinking, which is a foundation, will guide us and lead us to freedom of thinking. And freedom of thinking, of course, has an attachment, we call it spiritual thinking, but they are integrated and entangled. With the integration of this free, wonderful feeling that we can create in our life, then we're going to be much more emotionally intelligent, and the happiness become much, much easier. And if we get disturbed here and there because of distraction that we constantly encountering, that's all right. Just focus. Just focus for a moment. Bring yourself together. Those foundations that you already created, quantum physics thinking, freedom of thinking, spiritual advancement and thinking, all together will guide us and bring us back together and makes us to be more unified again from the within. So I'm going to stop here, and the next episode is going to be continuation of discussion about unity and oneness from the within, and what are the obstacles and how we can build the vision to be unified from the within. And that's going to be a wonderful discussion that I invite you to continue watching the channel. And of course, we're going to do the best, definitely. And I'm going to bring other people, hopefully, into this, journey that we're taking to help us to provide and create simple answer to complex question. I am honored to be in connection to you, all of you, and I hope that you enjoyed this discussion that we're starting. And I welcome you back. Have a wonderful day, and we're going to be all together much more spiritually and have a much more spiritual life. Thank you.